Welcome everyone to Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game. I'm your host, Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and money color commentator. On today's show, Business Owners' Exit Strategies, part 4 in our series on tax advantage income investing with indices with nationally recognized retirement expert and certified financial planner, Chris Jacob. Welcome to the fourth segment, Chris.
Delighted to be here.
All right, now I love indices, and again, remember we're talking about Index Universal Life, and we can use any indice, foreign or domestic, we want. But let's talk about how this works in a business strategy, not only for my own benefit as a business owner, but this could be my exit strategy in getting out of my business.
Yes, it could. So let's check that out and see how that can work in conjunction with this whole series on Indexed Universal Life that we've been talking about. Professionals' retirement strategy, actually this has been around for well over 15 years. A gentleman by the name of Joel Solomon with Paradigm Financial out on the West Coast created this, developed it. I'm a regional director with the firm, and we've used it for several of our clients, and it's worked out wonderfully. So, you know, when it comes to this whole issue of working with business owners, typically they don't know, quote, their number. And Steve, I've yet to meet any business owner who told me he had too much tax-free retirement income coming in the mail. It just hasn't happened yet. Okay, but moreover, they typically don't have an exit strategy in place, okay, to that next generation family member or that key executive. So what we're going to look at doing is implementing this professional's retirement strategy plan today so it strategically positions that business for an exit down the road. And it's also going to, if you will, provide the help for that next generation family member or key executive who typically just doesn't have the cash to buy it out, right? A lot going on this page. So we'll ask business owners two questions. One, does your company have goodwill? Yes, it does. Then I'll ask them, is your goodwill a monetizable asset? Typically, no. So if you could monetize the goodwill value of your company without having to give up any control or ownership, would you consider that? Usually, yes. And then the next question I ask is the following. If you could borrow money, simple interest at 3.5%, but turn around and invest it and get 5% compound interest, how much money would you borrow?
Much as I can.
Okay, now we can proceed. So those are the two main issues, because we're going to monetize that dormant asset, if you will, of your goodwill, value of the business. Actually, there's going to be a loan to a bank, from a bank to your business. That business, in turn, will loan the money to you, or the business, as you'll see, can own the policy. But in this instance, what you're going to do is have the business borrow the money from the bank's going to lend the money to you. You're going to put it into one of our indexed universal life policies that's structured with all these fabulous internal workings to provide tax-free income and, of course, a death benefit. However, that policy will be collaterally assigned back to the business, which in turn collaterally assigns it back to the bank. And Steve, if you're familiar with typical premium financing, usually you've got to have a net worth of $5 million or more in order to qualify. Here, really what the bogey is it's not so much a net worth, but we have to have a viable business where the business owner is making $300,000 or more, okay? That's the criteria. Now, this is not a one lump sum loan. It's a line of credit, and it's a subordinate loan so that it does not affect the company's ability to borrow money for other things. That's critical. So what we're going to do here is have a line of credit of $1 million in this example. This individual, and it's going to be $250,000 a year for 4 years that he's going to fund it into one of these non-modified endowment contracts. We're going to keep it tax favored. In addition, he's going to put in $24,000 of his own money, not necessary, but you're going to see why he wants to. And that policy collateralized back to the business, in turn collateralized back to the bank. So $250,000 of premium that came as a line of credit from the bank gets lent to him, goes into the policy. Now, notice this. Structured properly, we don't even have to post any outside collateral because the loan was $250,000 from the bank to the business. What's the cash value at the end of the first year? $270,000. We're using high early cash value policies. So the policy itself is solely providing the collateral for that loan. Now, balance sheet wise, it's neutral. I've got a liability, but I got a receivable on the books, true? And expected but not guaranteed by age 65, remember this person was 45 that we used in this example, should have somewhere around the neighborhood of $3 million in cash, which will have been funded by the interest. So the business is going to pay interest on this loan, and then down the road, you're going to see how we're going to pay off the loan.
Okay, can I stop you there for a second?
Sure.
So as I'm making my borrowing every year to pay my premium, my out-of-pocket thus far is only the annual interest due?
Only the interest.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
supercharging this with OPM, other people's money, okay? Or a valuable OPM that we help provide in this area is other people's mistakes. We can show you how to avoid them. And projected, not guaranteed, at age 66 is going to be $250,000 of tax-free income, which in a 35% tax bracket is the pre-tax equivalent of receiving $384,000 a year. So projected cash value $3 million, going to have a death benefit of $5.8 million to start with.
And that's the lowest we can go on the death benefit.
That's as low as we can get it. Right. Yep, we would go lower if we could, but the government says no, we can't.
Okay.
So let's look at total projected benefits. Close to $6 million, $5 million of income over 20 years, and even net of taking all those loans, borrowing against the value of the policy, it's still going to have almost a $900,000 death benefit at age 90. Projected cost between interest that the business paid, which between you, your CPA, and God, you can determine whether that's deductible or not. Most do take it as a deduction. And the annual premium that he put in, projected cost $2.4 million, benefits almost $6 million. There's a lot going on this page, Steve. You can see outstanding bank loan. We borrowed $250,000 a year for the first 4 years, which is up to $1 million. We're assuming an increasing interest on the cost to borrow. The red is their annual interest payment. So look, they got $250,000 going into the policy the first year for an interest payment of $9,000. So $250,000 a year for 4 years, $24,000 a year until age 65. There's the total premiums. And you can see what part of the death benefit is the business, what part goes to his family, the bulk of it's going to the family, and of course, I want to talk about the part that he lives and starts taking tax-free retirement income.
So really, this area here, the annual interest payment, this is all he's paying?
That's all he's paying.
Okay,
and
so
we're not even taking into account that in all likelihood it's deductible.
So if I use this number as my actual money out of my personal pocket, that's going to be used the calculation to find out what my internal rate of return is on this contract.
It's pretty stellar.
And it's going to be pretty good, yeah.
And notice how that loan's getting paid back over 5 years. That's how we transition this to that next generation family member or a key employee. So let's assume it's retirement time. Your business is valued at $1 million, and you're going to enter into a 5-year installment note purchase of your business to the tune of $200,000 a year for 5 years. What's going to happen? And again, a lot going on this page. You're now retired, so you're going to sell $200,000 of your stock to that key person or that next generation family member. You will have some capital gains tax to pay on that, just like you would if we weren't using this transaction. You're going to then turn around and pay that $200,000 back to the business that is going to pay off part of that loan to the bank. That will then allow them to release that policy that will now start paying you $250,000 a year tax-free for the next 20 years. So let's look at how this could work. Assuming that you had a salary and were making $500,000 salary plus bonus, you're no longer there. Key person is now receiving that $500,000, of which they're using $200,000 to buy you out over the next 5 years. That's going to give them 20% of the stock sale for the next 5 years. So after the first 5 years, that key individual now owns 100% of the business. They have a full $500,000 salary. So let's look, what if you didn't implement this plan? On the left side of the ledger, you would still get your installment note of $200,000 a year for 5 years. You'd still get your $1 million. You'd still have capital gains tax to pay on it, obviously. But with this PRS plan, you're not only going to have that installment note, but you're going to get $250,000 of tax-free income projected for 20 years, not guaranteed. And no life insurance on the left-hand side of the ledger. Look at the values on the right-hand side of the ledger at the various ages. Still a significant 7-figure death benefit associated with this plan in case you don't make it. Okay, we all plan on retirement. Nobody plans on expiring, but it does happen, right? Remember my stages of life? Desire, perspire, on fire, retire, and expire. Let's hope that we can just get the retire before we get the expire here. So really that's it in a nutshell insofar as how can we monetize the goodwill value of your business without you having to give up any ownership and control, and how can we arbitrage the differential between simple interest and compound interest using an indexed universal life policy that can be supercharged with borrowed money from a bank. Now, Steve, there's a whole host of different combinations of permutations where we can have the business own it, and as we'll talk about in the next segment, how it can be used as a golden handcuff also.
I love the aspect of, and I'd love to see what the internal rate of return is by only paying the annual interest, because that's what I'm out of pocket. I'd like to see what that internal rate of return is for my income coming out. It's got to be up in the double-digit area all day long.
I know it looks too good to be true, but again, we'll prove it with the math.
Understood. Well, listen, don't forget to watch our next segment on executive recruitment and retention, part 5 in our series on tax-advantaged income investing with indices. And keep in mind, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always check with your tax consultant, legal counsel, or financial advisor. You've been watching Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game.